Hello, my name is Dave Sigler, the owner and broker of Vintage Real Estate Services. Do you have a problem rental property? Is it giving you a headache, keeping you up at night, wondering what's going on, where your rent is, or why your tenant is not communicating with you? These are all common problems that are presented to us on a regular basis. The non-payment of rent. How long has it been since your tenant paid rent? A week? 2 months? What about communications? Is your tenant returning your phone calls? Are they avoiding you, texting at their convenience? Or have you noticed damage at your property or neglect that you're concerned that the tenant should be addressing and they're not? To address these, number one, the non-payment of rent. Typically, this is done by posting a 3 or 8 day notice stating that the tenant must pay rent within that time frame or vacate the property. Would then be followed up with an inspection of the property to see if the tenant has vacated on either the 4th or the 9th day to decide on the next step of the process. Hopefully rent is paid and things move forward, but in the event that it's not, are you prepared for an eviction? Are you experiencing a lack of communication from your tenant, either refusing to return phone calls, emails, or text? Many times this can be a sign of a bigger problem at the property. Our proposed solution would be to post a 24-hour notice to enter the property and find out whether they are still there and establish communications. Many times the posting of this notice alone will force the tenant to contact us just to establish communications, explain that they're not approving of it, but either way, communication has been established. Have you driven by your property, or has your neighbor reported that there's damage or neglect to your property? This can be a concern in order to protect the property's integrity, as well as potential HOA violations that might arise from these situations. Many times this can be solved by simply posting a 7-day notice to cure, which lets the tenant know the problem that needs to be cured in the time frame in which it must be done. If it is not cured within 7 days, you would have the ability to take the next step of evicting the tenant if necessary. In most situations, the tenants understand the severity of it, and it can be rectified, and everybody can move on. Unfortunately, oftentimes, all of these problems happen at the same time. How would you address these? Where do you start? Based on our years of experience with these situations, we generally take a head-on approach. First, we want to establish that the property is not vacant. Has the tenant already moved out? And that's the reason for all of these. Or 2, is the tenant in the property and we need to move on to the next step? The second step would be posting the appropriate notices to cure these, whether it's 3-day notice to pay the rent, 7-day notice to cure. Either way, we want to establish the step of the eviction by posting the appropriate notices. The ultimate goal here is to get the relationship back on track, the tenant paying, and preserve the integrity of the property. However, if none of these efforts provide results, we can work with you to assist in the next step of an eviction. The eviction process is quite tedious, and we are experts in assisting in this in order to achieve the goal of removal of a tenant. Once the tenant is removed, we can assist with any home repairs, a vigorous marketing plan to get the property filled as soon as possible, and get the investment back on track in producing income. While each situation is unique, there are common solutions that can resolve the individual problems while at the same time providing an overall solution. If you have any questions or would like to discuss your situation further, please feel free to give me a call at Vintage Real Estate Services. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about what's going on with your property and how we can help.